The tension escalates within the glossy confines of the Zenith. CEO Victor Lancer receives an urgent, confidential report. A minor outbreak of food poisoning has been traced back to a recent event, hushed up by an emergency payment. The incident is a stark warning, confirming the deadly risk of his cheap ingredients. Driven by panic and greed, Victor tightens his security protocols and orders his team to become even more aggressive in blending the substandard product. His ambition has reached a critical, toxic tipping point. He justifies his actions. It's a calculated risk. Survival is messy. Meanwhile, in the alley, old man Silas continues his silent vigil. His observations intensify. He spends hours, unnoticed, meticulously examining the subtle changes in the discarded waste. He uses his sight and keen sense of smell to categorize the scraps, realizing that the volume of truly fresh, high-quality waste has decreased dramatically, while the volume of strange, overly processed, or chemically treated refuse has surged. His intuition screams of danger. A stray terrier, which Silas had silently befriended and shared scraps with, wanders into the back loading dock. One of Victor's rushed employees carelessly discards a small bowl of the specially treated meat trimmings meant for disposal. The dog, ravenous, consumes it quickly. Within the hour, Silas finds the dog convulsing violently. The animal's suffering is immediate, horrifying, and brief. The dog dies in Silas's arms, a silent, agonizing accusation. This incident is the devastating moment that transforms Silas's passive observation into active, burning resolve. It's no longer just about survival scraps, it's about a deadly truth concealed by a lavish facade. Silas cradles the dead dog, tears running silently down his face. This, is compounded by his inability to utter a sound. He cannot scream in pain or rage, he can only feel the crushing weight of his muteness. Driven by grief, Silas rushes towards the building's entrance, attempting to alert a security guard. He frantically points to the alley, making wild, exaggerated gestures of a dog dying and people eating. The guard, Officer Johnson, a burly man focused only on the restaurant's elite clientele, dismisses him immediately. "Get lost, old man. You're disturbing the peace. We don't speak sign language, and we definitely don't speak crazy." Johnson shoves Silas back into the street. The crushing realization of his utter powerlessness, the irony that the only person who knows the deadly secret is the one person literally incapable of voicing the alarm, is a palpable, agonizing burden. Silas retreats, his body trembling, but his mind now hardened. He understands that Victor Lancer's kingdom is protected by its own wealth and the world's indifference to the voiceless. He realizes he cannot rely on words or conventional methods. He clutches the crumpled foreign label he found earlier. He must find another way to speak. He starts a meticulous new routine, dedicating his meager resources to acquiring tools and materials for his impossible mission. The silent war has officially begun. The death of the dog solidified old man Silas's resolve, transforming his grief into a cold, determined focus. He understands that Victor Lancer's deadly operation is hidden behind layers of wealth and bureaucracy. His muteness, previously his greatest weakness, must now become his tactical advantage. He is the silent, invisible threat. Silas's first act is to create a secure, hidden space beneath the dilapidated lean-to he calls home. He starts meticulously collecting his evidence, pieces of discarded, chemically stained packaging, heavily expired labels, and small snippets of strange, spoiled ingredients he manages to retrieve before the waste is processed. He dries them, presses them, and organizes them like a forensics expert. He spends hours drawing crude, yet detailed, sketches on scavenged cardboard, maps of the kitchen and storage areas, tracing the movements of the night staff. His drawings are his unspoken depositions. Silas realizes that circumstantial evidence isn't enough. He needs undeniable, visual proof of the mass quantities of spoiled goods inside Victor Lancer's private storage. Specifically the walk-in freezer where the most dangerous stock is held. This freezer is the heart of Victor's crime, protected by a high-tech electronic lock and motion-sensing cameras. For Silas, a homeless, disabled man, gaining access is an almost insurmountable obstacle. He begins observing the staff's entry and exit routines from a distance. He focuses on the small, repetitive patterns, the code being punched in by the evening supervisor, The brief window when the security light flickers, and the precise timing of the internal camera sweep. He acquires rudimentary tools, a stiff wire, a small, cracked hand mirror, and a powerful, though old, digital camera with low battery life, all scavenged or bought with hard-earned spare change. The test run and near miss, Silas executes a trial run in the back service corridor. He manages to bypass a lower-level magnetic lock on a utility closet, proving his ingenuity. However, a sudden, unexpected patrol by a night cleaning crew forces him to hide inside a large linen cart for 45 minutes. The claustrophobia and the fear of being discovered, of having his mission end before it even began, is crushing. He emerges shaken, but with a refined understanding of the building's weak points. Victor's growing paranoia. Meanwhile, Victor Lancer notices subtle signs of intrusion: a misplaced mop bucket, a slightly ajar delivery hatch, the residue of dirt where it shouldn't be. Victor initially attributes it to careless staff. But his paranoia, fueled by his guilt, starts to mount. He calls his security manager and demands zero tolerance for unauthorized presence, ordering the installation of a new, high-definition camera specifically pointed at the walk-in freezer door, hidden discreetly above a ventilation duct. Victor is tightening the net, inadvertently raising the stakes for Silas's already perilous plan. Silas, unaware of the new camera, sets the date for his infiltration, the night of the major supplier inventory count, believing the chaos will provide necessary cover. He knows this is his one, non-verbal chance to expose the deadly rot at the zenith. The night of the supplier inventory count arrives, cloaked in a fierce thunderstorm, a perfect cover of noise and distraction. Old Man Silas begins his operation. Dressed in dark, scavenged clothing, he moves with a stealth born of desperation. The roar of the thunder muffles his movements as he navigates the complex service corridors he had mapped in his mind. The breach. Silas utilizes the small window of opportunity he observed, the precise moment the night supervisor is preoccupied with a delivery manifest. Using his thin, strong wire, he manages a manual override on the outer utility door's magnetic lock, his hands shaking not from cold, but from adrenaline. He slips inside, immediately entering the labyrinth of the commercial kitchen. The heat and steam are intense, contrasting sharply with the cold mission ahead. He crawls past dormant cooking stations, avoiding pools of water and the blinding flashes of emergency lights caused by the storm. Silas reaches the walk-in freezer door, the final barrier. He uses the cracked hand mirror to check the area for movement and spots the faint glint of the new, hidden camera Victor Lancer had installed. Panic flares, but his training takes over. He quickly calculates the camera's blind spot and uses a small, rigid piece of plastic to temporarily wedge the key code mechanism, delaying its reactivation cycle. With a final surge of effort, he forces the heavy, insulated door open and slips inside. The sight is instantly horrifying. The cold hits him, but the smell, a mix of freezer burn, cheap chemical treatments, and faint decay, is overwhelming. Large, unmarked crates are stacked high, hidden behind authorized, labeled supplies. Silas pulls back a heavy plastic sheet. Tinhunge suck. The meat and fish underneath are visibly discolored, some green, some gray, marked with faint, barely legible expired dates. Silas pulls out his small, old digital camera. His fingers, numb with cold and stress, struggle with the tiny buttons. He focuses, capturing rushed, shaky images of the contaminated produce, the expired labels, and the secret storage method. The camera battery blinks red. It is his absolute last chance. He manages to snap 4 critical photos just as he hears a distinct sound, the click of the freezer door being pulled shut from the outside. Victor Lancer, who had returned to the restaurant on a whim of paranoid inspection, had seen the slight anomaly on his security feed. He locks Silas inside. After a few terrifying minutes, Victor reopens the door and drags the shivering, terrified old man out. Victor is momentarily stunned to realize the intruder is the mute beggar he occasionally tossed scraps to. Victor's initial disbelief quickly twists into murderous rage. Victor violently pins Silas against the cold steel counter. He frantically searches Silas, demanding the evidence. "Where is it, you dirty, useless animal? What did you take?" Silas, unable to scream, thrashes in silence. Victor finds the camera, smashes it against the floor, and finds nothing else. In a brilliant, desperate act, Silas had managed to hide the crucial memory card, not in his clothes, but deep inside a small, sealed pouch under his tongue. A defense mechanism years in the making. Victor, certain he has won, brutally beats Silas. He leaves him unconscious and bloodied on the loading dock, a warning scrawled on the wall: "Stay mute." Victor believes he has neutralized the threat and cemented his innocence. Old Man Silas awakens hours later, his body a map of throbbing pain, discarded like refuse on the wet loading dock. He manages to crawl back to his hidden lean-to, every movement a searing reminder of Victor Lancer's brutality. Victor had destroyed the camera, but the mission was not a total failure. The small memory card containing the truth was still safe in its hidden pouch. However, the physical evidence was useless without a voice to present it, and the beating had further damaged his ability to move his hands for rapid communication. Silas knows he cannot approach the police or media directly. His appearance, his muteness, and the lack of a clear verbal narrative would instantly turn him into an unreliable lunatic, easily dismissed by Victor's lawyers and PR machine. He needed a bridge, a kind heart capable of understanding the silent language of desperation. His mind settled on Alex, a young, empathetic delivery worker who occasionally dropped supplies at a nearby bakery. Alex had, on several occasions, shown him minor kindness, a half sandwich, a brief nod of acknowledgement. Silas observed that Alex possessed an open, compassionate demeanor, a stark contrast to the cold indifference of most others. Alex was his only hope for translation. Silas positions himself near the bakery's delivery route. When Alex arrives, Silas painfully drags himself into view. Alex is initially horrified by Silas's brutalized state. Silas immediately begins a frantic, clumsy attempt to communicate using the rudimentary sign language he knew and a series of frantic, pointed gestures toward the zenith. Alex, trying to be helpful, offers him food and water, completely missing the urgent message. Noidauthum latum bihilum. The scene is agonizing. Silas, with the vital secret literally in his mouth, cannot transfer the information, trapped behind the double barrier of silence and pain. Frustrated and exhausted, Silas resorts to the only form of communication that cannot be dismissed as madness: visual evidence. He uses charcoal, chalk, and even blood from his injuries, a dramatic, emotional touch, to create large, vivid drawings on scavenged cardboard sheets. He sketches the back of the zenith, the layout of the walk-in freezer, the distorted, moldy meat, and finally, a chillingly accurate caricature of Victor Lancer's sneering, arrogant face. Alex returns the next day and stops, transfixed. He sees the powerful, disturbing series of images. At first, he thinks it's the insane rantings of a traumatized man. But the drawings are too specific, too detailed in their depiction of a hidden, rotten reality. Alex remembers whispers circulating among delivery drivers about strange late-night pickups at the Zenith and an unusually high staff turnover. Suspicion begins to override skepticism. Alex approaches Silas cautiously, pointing at the drawing of the freezer. Silas nods violently, pulling out the small, worn piece of foreign label from Part 2 and pointing to the drawing. This small gesture connects the visual proof to the material fact. Alex decides to secretly purchase a beginner's book on basic sign language and pictorial analysis, realizing that this voiceless man holds a dangerous, crucial truth. The connection has finally been made. Silas has found his voice, not through sound, but through empathy. Victor Lancer is operating in a state of high-alert paranoia. After brutally assaulting Silas, he feels a twisted sense of relief, certain that the mute beggar is now neutralized, physically and psychologically. Yet the brief, silent encounter has left a festering doubt. Victor knows the memory card could still exist, forcing him into a preemptive counterattack to solidify his innocence. Victor launches a massive, calculated public relations campaign. He appears on local morning shows, looking sincere and passionate, discussing the sacred trust he shares with his patrons. Jamdok Javotoy. He hosts a highly publicized charity event, personally serving meticulously prepared, fresh dishes to local dignitaries and media figures. He speaks eloquently about ethics in gastronomy and the importance of quality control, positioning himself as a pillar of community integrity and moral excellence. He even makes a small, highly visible donation to a local animal shelter, a calculated move to erase the stain of the dog's death and his violence against Silas. The public buys the performance hook, line, and sinker. Simultaneously, Victor orchestrates a rapid, thorough cleanup at the Zenith. He orders the complete, documented destruction of the last major shipment of expired goods, making sure to involve legitimate sanitation companies to create an undeniable paper trail of proper disposal. He has all security systems, including the hidden camera that caught Silas, thoroughly wiped and upgraded. Every employee is placed under severe scrutiny, facing immediate dismissal for the slightest deviation. He believes he has successfully scrubbed every trace of his crime, making the physical location immaculate. Back in the alley, the secret alliance between Silas and Alex strengthens. Alex dedicates his off hours to deciphering Silas's drawings and crude sign language. The drawings of the spoiled meat and Victor's cruel face, combined with the few words Alex manages to decode, like cold, bad, danger, start forming a coherent, terrifying narrative. Alex believes Silas, recognizing the profound suffering and sincerity in the old man's eyes. Victor's security sweep includes monitoring the alley. One of his newly hired night watchmen, highly motivated by Victor's harsh threats, reports seeing the delivery driver, Alex, interacting extensively with Silas, often holding drawings. Victor, alerted to the possibility of a translator, immediately suspects a coordinated effort. This new development shifts the risk. Victor sees Alex not as a harmless delivery boy, but as the dangerous voice the mute beggar desperately needed. Victor now has two targets. He authorizes a discreet background check on Alex and begins planning how to silence this new intermediary, realizing that merely beating the old beggar was not enough. The stakes are now raised. Silas and Alex are under the immediate, watchful eye of a ruthless and cornered CEO. The threat of exposure, magnified by Alex's involvement, pushes Victor Lancer to organize a desperate, high-stakes event. Victor plans an exclusive integrity gala for high-profile investors and the city's health inspectorate team, a calculated move to definitively prove the Zenith's supposed return to pristine standards and publicly silence any lingering rumors. The menu, curated by Victor, will feature a signature dish that, unknown to his staff, relies on the final small cache of subtly compromised, though heavily disguised, ingredients. His last attempt to cut costs for massive profit while showcasing perfection. Silas and Alex recognize this gala as their final, critical window. If the contaminated food is served to these influential guests, the resulting illness, even a minor one, will be impossible to cover up, and Silas's evidence will carry weight. Alex, using his knowledge as a delivery worker, figures out a way to get Silas inside the service entrance. Silas must be there to activate his proof. Alex procures a generic uniform, similar to those worn by external kitchen cleaners, a role where silence and invisibility are expected. He carefully guides Silas, providing detailed maps drawn from Silas's sketches and his own memory. Silas, using his old-age stealth, is to move into the kitchen's peripheral zone, a dark corner near the industrial dishwashing unit, where the noise and steam offer cover. Before the infiltration, Silas performs a silent but profound act. He carefully removes the tiny memory card from its hiding place and hands it to Alex. This is his entire mission, his life's work, and the only hard evidence. It's an act of absolute trust, cementing their partnership. Alex understands the crushing responsibility, securing the card in a secret pocket. He also secretly alerts a single trusted investigative journalist, not with details, but with a vague tip about a major health scandal unfolding at the Zenith tonight, providing a contingency. The atmosphere at the Zenith is electric. Victor Lancer moves through the kitchen, supervising every plate, every garnish. He is tense but outwardly composed, barking orders and ensuring the signature dish is prepared exactly to his specifications. A dish where the contaminated ingredient is masked by rich spices and sauces. Silas, disguised and trembling slightly, slips into his designated hiding spot. The noise of the kitchen is deafening, yet Silas is intensely focused on the sound of Victor's voice and the specific movements of the food runners. He spots the signature dish being plated. Tintit him miao to nihongdevu qua. Jairont 3. The clock is ticking towards serving time. Silas knows that once the food leaves the kitchen, his chance is gone, and Victor's lie will be validated, potentially harming dozens of people. He must find a way to speak within the next 5 minutes. using only the limited space and materials around him. The grand dining hall of the Zenith is hushed in anticipation. Victor Lancer, radiant with manufactured confidence, stands at the podium, a gleaming trolley holding the signature gala dish poised beside him. He begins his toast, declaring this meal a testament to absolute integrity and a celebration of uncompromising quality. Meanwhile, the plated dishes, laced with the disguised, dangerous ingredient, are beginning to move out of the kitchen. Hidden near the noisy dish pit, old Man Silas sees the signature plates rolling past. He knows he has seconds. He cannot shout, he cannot signal, and drawing attention would result in instant removal. He looks around the chaotic kitchen, his stage for the silent revolution. He spots a large, pristine cutting board, and more importantly, a container of rich, brightly colored reduction sauce, the final, vibrant element Victor uses to mask the flavor of the rot. Silas takes a huge, desperate risk. He quickly grabs the sauce container and dashes toward the main serving aisle, moving with surprising speed for an injured man. As Victor's voice booms across the dining hall, Silas bursts from the kitchen's shadows and runs directly toward the immaculate white marble floor near the service entrance. Tenan may come, sudhet tozak. He throws himself down and begins to paint with the sauce. He doesn't draw symbols. He uses the sauce and his own body movements, a grotesque form of silent performance art, to recreate the scene of the crime. He smears the dark, vibrant sauce to depict the large, mold-covered boxes, the specific expired foreign label, and the distinct, twisted shape of the contaminated ingredient. He then uses his trembling fingers to frantically draw Victor's face. Not the smiling CEO, but the savage, raging man who beat him. The sudden, dramatic appearance of a ragged, sauce-covered man disrupting the elegant gala causes immediate shock. Victor sees Silas and his eyes widen in pure, unadulterated terror, a genuine loss of control. He immediately shouts, "Security! Get that insane trespasser out! He's a vandal!" Tiamdo gavotoid. Victor feigns outrage, trying to maintain his image of the innocent victim of a random act of lunacy. However, the painting is too specific, too chillingly accurate in its detail of the kitchen's unseen secrets. The health inspectorate team, moments from eating, freezes, their professional antennae raised. Alex, who was waiting just outside, rushes in. He doesn't stop the guards. Instead, he uses his phone's video function to live stream Silas's sauce testimony and simultaneously projects the images of Silas's original cardboard drawings, the maps and the labels, onto a nearby presentation screen, juxtaposing them with the scene on the floor. The visual overload, the beggar's silent, visceral art, the projected drawings, and the sudden panicked shouts of Victor shatters the illusion. The evidence is now loud, visible, and undeniable. A low-level prep cook, seeing the dramatic exposé and fearing his own impending danger, breaks ranks. He steps forward, shouting over the noise. "It's true, he made us mix the expired food. He threatened us." Victor's jaw drops. His carefully constructed world is disintegrating, exposed by the very two people he thought he had completely silenced. The opulent gala dissolves into immediate chaos. The piercing shout of the prep cook, the first verbal confirmation of Silas's silent accusation, rips through the tense silence that followed the initial shock. This single, terrified voice acts as the final key, unlocking the truth for everyone present. The health inspectorate team immediately secures the signature dish and places the kitchen under lockdown. Victor Lancer attempts a final, desperate flight. He shoves aside a waiter and sprints toward a side exit, but he is immediately intercepted by plainclothes police officers who had been discreetly called in by the investigative journalist alerted by Alex. Victor is apprehended violently, shouting denials and threats that now sound utterly hollow and pathetic against the backdrop of his exposed deceit. His elegant facade finally shatters, revealing the cornered, desperate criminal underneath. The sight of the once mighty CEO being dragged away in handcuffs provides a powerful sense of immediate justice. The final evidence. Alex quickly presents the tiny memory card, retrieved from Silas, to the lead health inspector. The inspector finds a functioning device and projects the clear, chilling images taken inside the walk-in freezer onto the main screen. The images of green, rotting meat and expired labels, juxtaposed against the fresh, sanitized dining room, eliminate all doubt. Victor's downfall is complete. The camera focuses away from the arrests and the chaos, shifting to Silas. He is slumped on the marble floor amidst the vibrant sauce he used for his final, desperate testimony. He is physically and emotionally spent, his mission accomplished at the cost of his own severe suffering. Alex rushes to him, ignoring the security personnel, and helps Silas sit up. Alex, his own eyes wet with emotion, carefully uses sign language. "You did it, Silas. You spoke. Everyone heard the truth." Silas looks up at the screen, displaying the evidence, the proof of his silent struggle. He looks at Alex, who risked everything for him. The immense, crushing burden of his lifelong muteness, the agony of the dog's death, the pain of the beating, and the fear of failure, all the silent suffering, finally breaks. Silas begins to weep silently, but profoundly. The tears stream down his dirty face, mixing with the dark sauce and the residue of his blood. These are not tears of sadness, but of release. The profound, visceral realization that his voice, the one he never had finally achieved the greatest possible impact. It is the emotional peak of the story. The voiceless man has won his battle against the most powerful voice in the city. The healing hand. Alex gently takes Silas's hand, offering a silent pledge of support and friendship. A few patrons and staff members who witnessed the full truth, moved by the raw sacrifice, approach tentatively, offering blankets and water. The feeling of utter isolation that defined Silas's existence is finally receding. The darkness surrounding the zenith has been pierced by the light of one man's courage and another's empathy. The aftermath of the Integrity Gala, Shockwave, permanently alters the city's perception of luxury and ethics. Victor Lancer's trial dominates the headlines, with the dramatic silent testimony of Silas becoming the central focus. Victor is eventually convicted on multiple counts of health endangerment and fraud, his life of opulence collapsing into years of imprisonment. The Zenith is immediately shut down, its legacy forever tainted as the House of Lies. The aftermath and redemption. Alex becomes an unlikely hero. He organizes a community fund to support Silas, using the media attention not for personal gain, but to highlight the plight of the marginalized and the necessity of listening to unheard voices. Alex ensures Silas receives the necessary medical and psychological care to recover from Victor's brutal assault. The profound loneliness that defined Silas's life begins to dissipate under the warmth of genuine human connection. The healing path. Silas finds a new purpose. He is no longer confined to the shadows. The community, deeply moved by his sacrifice, embraces him. Alex, disillusioned with the logistics industry but inspired by Silas's fight for truth, decides to open a small, ethical bistro. He names it the Flavor of Compassion. The bistro's philosophy is simple: source everything locally, treat employees and ingredients with respect, and put integrity above profit. Alex offers Silas a permanent, safe position and a small, comfortable room above the bistro. Silas doesn't work in the main kitchen, but becomes the bistro's garden curator. He tends to the herbs and small vegetables grown for the restaurant, using his meticulous observation skills and quiet dedication to nurture life, not just witness decay. The final scene, Catharsis Fatuelen. The final scene is set months later at the Flavor of Compassion. The atmosphere is warm, inviting, and humble, the antithesis of the zenith. Silas is sitting at a small table near his thriving herb garden. He is clean, dressed in simple, comfortable clothes, and looks genuinely at peace. A young customer, seeing Silas's silent presence, attempts a simple sign for thank you and smiles genuinely. Silas responds with a slight nod, and for the first time since the trauma began, a true, peaceful smile. Alex approaches the table, placing a small plate of the bistro's signature dish, fresh, vibrant, and simple, in front of Silas. The dish represents everything Victor's food was not: honesty, care, and respect for life. Alex uses a simplified sign: safe, good. Silas looks at the beautiful, honest food, then looks up at Alex with gratitude. He slowly takes a bite. The camera lingers on his face. This is the taste of true justice, the flavor of healing, and the realization that his silent testimony did more than expose a crime. It restored faith. The final shot is a close-up of Silas's eyes, no longer haunted by fear or pain, but shining with quiet dignity. The narrative ends with the implied lesson: true integrity, like true courage, doesn't need a loud voice to be heard. Well, friends, there it is. The story of Silas and Victor Lancer comes to a close. If you've stuck with us until this very moment, it means something in this raw drama truly resonated with your heart. We didn't just witness a downfall, we witnessed a quiet victory of the human spirit. The core lesson here, which we can immediately apply to our own messy lives, is that integrity is never silent, even when you have no voice. Silas, the mute beggar, understood that the most potent form of action is not loud shouting, but unwavering moral clarity and persistent observation. In the face of overwhelming power and deceit, he chose courage over despair. The ancient Stoics taught us that we cannot control external events. We cannot control Victor's greed or the world's indifference, but we can control our internal response and our will to act justly. Silas's healing, catharsis, wasn't achieved through revenge, but through the profound peace of knowing he fulfilled his duty. So what is the duty calling to you today? Remember, your voice, whether loud or quiet, holds immense power. If this story moved you, please hit that like button, share this powerful lesson with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the true nature of courage. Let the silence of Silas inspire your own moral clarity.